Hello today. Welcome back to the Genesa ThoughtLab podcast. This episode we sat down with our friend Dan Derksen, otherwise known as Dsquared. He was the audiovisual lighting tech at 10 Nightclub. Also works with PK Sound. He's just a super smart, intelligent dude. We brought him in here to talk about SoundCloud because there's a lot of stuff going on with SoundCloud kind of shifting into a paid subscription service.
Yeah, it's been a lot of public outcry following that, and kind of like the episode that we did with Aaron Overbeck revolving around dabs and dab culture. This was all kind of stemmed from large conversation over social media, just kind of wanting to bring some things to light, and he happens to be super knowledgeable about it.
Yep. We talked about SoundCloud. I guess we kind of get to that in the second half of the podcast. I think this one went 2 hours. We had a lot to talk about. Dan's a really intelligent dude, and he's really well spoken, and it was very easy to just riff and talk about all sorts of stuff. We touched on Tesla. We touched on video map stage design of all kinds, the Calgary music scene,
a little bit of artificial intelligence in there.
Yeah, AI stuff. But yeah, we did dig into the SoundCloud and Spotify and Apple Music, and Dan's been doing kind of a lot of research in that regard, and he's been trying a bunch of them out, so it was actually kind of a really valuable perspective as to what's going on, which one's better than the other, and why. So if you guys are interested in kind of educating yourself on what's been going on with that, the second half of this podcast really gets into that, but yeah, it was just 2 hours of good conversation. So
yeah, I found myself sitting back for a lot of it, just kind of listening and learning more so than other episodes, just kind of more quiet, which is weird for me.
It is. But we were learning.
We also wanted to let you guys know that we've created our very own Patreon account.
Yeah, if you guys head over to patreon.com/the Genesa Project, that's probably the best way that you can help support this podcast with even just a couple dollars a month or per episode. There's lots of ways to contribute, and there's perks and all sorts of stuff like that. We spent a bunch of money putting all of this together. We still have money yet to spend for the summer project of bringing the podcast mobile to the festivals to be able to do it out in the field, untethered to power cords. And because of that, we've also created a GoFundMe campaign.
Our GoFundMe campaign will be listed in the links if you guys want to go and check that out and just see the video and what all the perks are related to and where the money's going to be going.
Yep.
And
yeah, we'll have all the links on genesaproject.com. If you're not watching the podcast there right now, then head over. We've got a kind of swanky website.
It's pretty swanky.
Yeah, and we'll be throwing it all around social media as well. But the GoFundMe campaign is going to be really cool. It's partly going to go into the wedding too. We're going to be doing a video guest book for the wedding, kind of setting up the podcast in the middle of the field at Riley Park. So yeah, we really want to try and make this happen before summer, but we definitely can't spend all the money on it because of the wedding. So we're reaching out to see if we can get help from the community, if we can get small amounts of support here and there. So check out the description of this podcast for information and links, or just head to the website. Fucking love you guys.
Thanks.
See you later. All right, let's do this. We are live. We're back.
We're back.
Our buddy Dan Derksen.
Hey,
goes by Dsquared. You might know him on Facebook. He's pretty prolific in the Calgary community with electronic music and audiovisual. He worked at 10 Nightclub for how long?
3.5 years.
3.5 years, pretty much the whole time it was open?
Just about. I came in about 6 or 7 months after it just opened.
Hit the visuals, yo.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
My first show at 10 was Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill? No way.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
We've decided, Dan's made a playlist of incredible audiovisual stage design videos that are kind of relevant to, I guess, what you and your project entailed.
Yeah, well, when I started at 10, I had never done visuals before.
That's right.
I did a little bit of lighting. I worked at, I don't know if you remember the Bank nightclub.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never went there. I know Callie went. Who did you see there?
I've been a couple times. I saw Marco V there.
Marco V, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of hard dance and hard style shows there.
Because Boudang was there originally, and then 10 opened, and they moved to to 10.
Yeah.
So the first like 6 months that they were at 10, I had whoever the manager, I can't remember what his name is, manager took over for the bank. I was like the sound and lighting guy with another company that I was working with at the time. That was kind of my like training grounds for how to do lighting and stuff.
Got your feet wet.
And the only reason why I got involved with 10 was I DJ'd there. I think I opened for Mord Fustang, and I had just asked them. I was like, "Hey, do you need a lighting guy?" And it was just kind of right place at the right time. Yeah. And I taught myself how to do the visuals and lighting, and
just didn't stop. Like you...
No, well, they were very consistent in the amount of shows they got, and like the caliber of shows just kept getting better and better and better.
Had to up your game.
Yeah, I mean, I got pretty invested in you know, my setup on how to run it all. Like, it was very unconventional setup I had. Like, a lot of people have like a lighting console, or if they do video, they'll have like a video console or like a video controller and stuff. And I just did everything through MIDI controllers because that's all I had. It was like Ableton, APC 40 and stuff. And I got to the point where I had the lighting and the visuals talking to each other on 2 different computers. Because I ran everything on 2 different computers at the same time just for safety, I guess. So if one crashes, you still have lights or you still have visuals.
Yeah.
Because it really sucks when the whole room goes black.
And we all know that computers love to crash.
Yes, and actually I had a huge problem for a few months with the software I was using that was just super unstable for whatever upgrade period that they had done, because I was dumb and I had upgraded when it first came out. You know, when they release the software update and you're like, oh, cool, new features. Then you get it and it's like...
I never think that. I'm
always
so afraid.
A lot of people are getting burned recently with the new Mac.
I haven't had any issues with it. And actually, what were we on? El Capitan? Stupidest name ever. But when I upgraded that, it actually fixed almost every problem that I had at the time. But...
oh, interesting. Because I heard that a lot of Serato users were
experiencing... The reason with Serato, the issue is... I can't remember exactly what it was, but it had to do with the permissions to audio devices.
Oh, okay.
And all Serato had to do was just redo like where it's written to.
Right.
And it would have been fine.
But they have to play catch up as quick as they can, right?
And that's what I understand. Like Pioneer and Serato is the same thing. Like they know at this point Apple releases a software update every year at around September.
This time,
They announce it in June, so they give you about 4 or 5 months to get your stuff together. They know that, you know, at least 50-60% of their customer base is going to have Apple software.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to, you know, have your customers remain loyal, you should definitely update as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah, and it's quite an advantage to have an expected, like a something that you can depend on, like a timeline that they're just God, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I hate when there's like that easy word that you just can't remember.
Help you.
Anyway, right on for Apple. I mean, at least they have the money in the developing team to keep their products updated.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is that like because you have these issues, is that a lot of like the DJ community and stuff is very hesitant to adopt newer technology or newer software.
Yeah. Which
actually might be more beneficial to them, but they don't want to do it because in the back of their head they're afraid that, you know, it's going to go wrong for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like for instance, a lot of people use Serato and they'll use CDJs, but they'll still use a Serato box and CD timecode, and it's not super complicated, but it's complicated enough that to set it up during a live show situation, it can get a little messy sometimes. You might unplug the wrong cable, or your CD might get scratched, and you don't have to do that anymore. There's easier ways to do it with Serato, but a lot of guys they're not open to trying it.
That's right. We really wanted to try it. You were offering for people to come into 10 Night Club and use the system to... What was it called? The DVS? Serato DVS?
HID.
Okay.
But even now, like Serato's updated it now where you don't even need a Serato box. You can just get Serato DJ, and you pay for a license club kit, it's called. I think it's like $85 or something like that.
Yeah.
And all you need is, at that point, is 3 USB cables in your laptop. And a hub if you don't have...
What do you mean 3 USBs?
3 USB cables.
So you have to have 3 USB ports on your computer
or a hub.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and you just do one on each CDJ into the hub.
Yep.
And then one out the mixer into your computer, and then you just change the channels into the USB, and that's it. Your setup time is like seconds.
I could see that being a problem though, because USBs are notoriously bad for like connection.
Yeah.
You know, like a bad USB cable is...
But I mean, your Serato box is already plugged in with USB into your computer,
right?
So
it's one USB cord, but then you're dealing with like 8 RCAs or whatever, right? And those are...
Well, but that's the thing is like the two coming out of the CDJ aren't actually transmitting audio; they're just transmitting
the
MIDI
link signal,
almost in a sense.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I wish we kind of got in there to check it out. I guess though, our buddy Blair, he's got all that equipment. We could try it if we wanted to, but we'd also have to purchase the license to do it.
I think there's a trial though. I think there's a 30-day trial or something.
I know that right now it doesn't really. I mean, the setup that we've been rolling with is just incredibly simplified. Just the DDJ-SX controller. It's
and that's the thing though with the HI demo with Serato is that you basically get your controller on the CJs and mixer, and pretty much every gig you're going to go to now is going to have that standard DJM 900 and 2 CJ 2000s,
just
right?
Being able to roll into
although
standard.
The new CJ 2000 Nexus 2 and DJM 900 Nexus 2 they announced isn't compatible with Serato or Traktor yet, and I think that's just because Pioneer DJ, who recently
they're
sold,
making their own software,
right?
They're trying to push their own software. That makes sense, but. I like for those that don't know, I work with PK Sound on a few festivals and stuff, and I've been working with them about 2 years. Shambhala 2 years ago, I remember was about when I had my first meeting with them. Last Shambhala was the first Shambhala I actually like worked with them, and I've done more of their bigger shows in the Alberta, BC area, but I'm kind of one of their go-to guys for like DJ equipment and stuff, just because I don't know, I understand DJ equipment really well.
Well, yeah, and
I know all the knobs, and when I started DJing, like I've been a DJ for 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah.
When I didn't even have like proper Pioneer equipment, I knew that I wanted to get that because that's what all the big names had, and I didn't have the money to get it. So all I did literally was just read the manual and watch YouTube videos, and I knew what every function did, and
all that's missing is the muscle memory.
Like, basically, so when I got in front of it, I remember when I first started DJing, before I actually had got and bought a set of 2000 CJs and DJM 800, I rented some from Long McQuaid, and I knew what to do right away. Whereas, I mean, even working at 10, I noticed you get a few DJs that would come up and they were playing in a club opening for a pretty well-known DJ, and they didn't know where like the booth volume is, or you know, or that their filter had been left on for the last like 2 minutes or something, you know. So I don't know. I think promoters, you guys do a good job of doing the due diligence of making sure that your DJs that play your shows like are actually like knowledgeable in what they're doing.
Yeah.
I found
we like we're not doing this so much anymore, but we used to like to do mix submission contest for like the opening slot, just so that people who aren't as experienced have the opportunity to get up on a stage and play for people, and you know, kind of get used to it and used to how things get plugged in on their own and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, honestly, like I wish we did more shows, because there's so many people that I would like to incorporate in, like, to have on to come play a show,
Hold
to come
on
play a
now.
set. But I don't want to. I've never wanted to throw shows too often, because it just, I feel like it takes away from the.
It loses its magic too.
Totally.
There's something to be said.
Well, I mean, like I said, with 10 now being done, I haven't worked any shows now since it shut down at the end of January.
Yeah, and it used to be 2 a week at least.
2 or 3 a week, every weekend. So I'd be there from doors open till doors close. You know, 5 hours of electronic music or hip hop on Saturdays, and it just. I got my love. Like I love electronic music, and that's pretty much all I do. But I just got really tired out from it all. You know, like I would go home and I'd spend the first 3 days like just in silence, just because if you listen to music at that loud of volume for 5 hours time constantly every weekend, like no weekends off for 3 years straight,
And it's not coming off your iPod, right? You're kind of at the
exactly.
whim of
Yeah,
That's true,
it's
yeah.
very rare. Was not very rare, but less often than the other would a DJ come on that I'd be like amped up on what they would be playing. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about before we started the recording too. Is that every weekend, a lot of the time, like the opening DJ is coming and playing the same songs that the last DJ did the previous weekend.
Yeah. The hip hop nights were the worst for that.
Yeah.
I knew I probably still could know every Drake and Rihanna song off the top of my head by heart, and I don't listen to it on the regular. That's
awesome.
They
They
literally play the same music every weekend, and the crowd goes crazy for it all
every
the
single time.
That's like country radio. Country radio stations, they are.
That music hasn't really
horrendous.
evolved for a while. Like I don't pay attention to country too much, so I could be very judging it right now. But I feel like it hasn't evolved much.
It's not really planning on it. I don't think it's not slated for an upgrade.
The last time I remember country making a big step was when Nelly started doing country rap and Kid Rock.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right,
but that didn't last too long. So.
Thank God.
Fusion.
And the Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy was like the biggest.
Yeah. Now, like country
rock.
There's that one like pop country song that's like mixed with a little bit of EDM.
Taylor Swift?
No, it's not Taylor Swift. It's some guy. I can't think of the name offhand, but it's interesting and explorative.
I wonder if we would be exposed to as much country as we are living in Calgary if we were living somewhere else. Because like I feel like, especially in this part of Canada, like we definitely probably are put in front of the most country.
I would say places like Texas would be worse.
Yeah, but
those are like the hub of that kind of music. But
Nashville,
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So country music, not even once, man.
I'm not a big fan of it. But.
I can do some. I grew up with it a little bit though, so I was just exposed to it a lot as a kid. So it's more so like the older stuff. Like I can't stand any of the.
It's just sad to see
shit.
the state of the country music industry because, like I was saying, like the country music radio station in Calgary. Whenever I've worked with someone who listens to country, it's like ear-piercingly pathetic how many times the popular songs are played in a 6-hour period.
Have you ever heard? There's a guy that pieced together a bunch of little sections of a
yeah.
country song. And it sounds like one same song.
And pop music, and just standard pop music, too. It's the same chord progression that makes pop music.
Yeah.
Oh, this Android Jones with Tipper on the screen is really distracting me.
I actually, I was just at another friend house who does visuals earlier today, and we watched a little bit of Android Jones and trying to figure out how he does it. I still do not know.
To be a bird on his shoulder.
I mean, knowing how I run visuals, I don't know how you would recreate that, and that's what he's got going for himself.
He's working with like an artistic tablet, and he's using brushes, and he's like, of course, a lot of the times it's mirrored in the center. But have you ever watched his time lapse videos of him making a piece of art? There's actually
I think I've seen one or two. Yeah,
this piece that is the tablecloth on our table. The music video for Life Raft is a Death Trip off of Forward Escape is the time-lapse video of this piece being created. And it's incredible to watch the layer, like where, it starts in a totally different fashion and he ends up scrapping a whole bunch of it, but it's just really quick. And every time like the bass hits in the song, every time there's like a dramatic like crunch, like the visuals, like it just like distorts and goes all watery. And it's a really, really beautiful music video.
Yeah, like what blows my mind with his visuals is like, if you watch them, it's almost like it's like an animated GIF or something. Mm-hmm. But the trails that go behind them or behind each image, they're also like delayed. And I'm not really sure how to do that without crashing my computer. And at the same time, the trails have like a color shift that go to them that's not in the same time as the forefront image.
Right.
So it's almost like the trail has an effect that's also delayed. I don't. It's still bullshit. And like how he freezes it like that, and
freezes a layer and stutters
clears some layers at the same time. I don't even know where to begin on how he does that. And I mean, I've been doing visuals for only 4 years now, so I'm still very noobish at it.
I'm fairly certain Android Jones is simply a wizard.
I don't think he's human.
No, his art pieces are very next level.
Apparently, we totally didn't realize, but his 360 degree, or I guess 180 degree half sphere dome was at Burning Man this year. That presentation that he does,
Okay.
where you walk in, it's like a geodesic
Oh yeah,
dome.
I've seen the video for his
360 degree projection.
They're doing that at Mono this year, eh?
I heard it's a company from this from the California area or something.
Yeah.
What's it called? It starts with an N. Can't remember.
Good question, but yeah, Motion Notion. If anybody hasn't seen that video, they shared it like right when they kind of leaked it and said like, "Hey, this is going to be at Mono," but I haven't really heard or seen anybody kind of sharing it around. It seems like it's going to be a pretty big deal.
Well, from what I think that's what the stage that you guys built at Mono is going to be this year.
Yeah, because the Spectrum crew is not going to be participating at Motion Notion this year. They're taking a year off. I believe they will be at another festival, and I'll let them announce that, but not as a music stage. It's going to be a different kind of installation. But I believe that stage is going to replace what Spectrum was last year, and because I think it's only got like a 175 to 200 person capacity inside the dome.
Yeah, it's not that big.
There's no way it could be the main stage.
No, but from what I hear, and I can't speak too much of it, is that the other stages will be getting evolution change. I mean, every festival every year changes and whatnot, but
Motion Notion, like the main stage, has been
the tempo,
pretty much unchanged for.
No, and James.
I don't know what it's coming of it, but I think that there will be some differences this year.
Yeah. I heard that they were completely redoing it, but again, this is all just.
Yeah, well, James said, like, when we were tearing down Spectrum last year, James, kind of alluded to the fact where he's like, I think I want to do something different. And he's, he definitely had that.
Well, I don't know if the Cabana will be there, because I know, like, I helped set that up last year, and that was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It looked amazing, but, like, working with the bamboo is so hard, and it wasn't properly stored the year before, so
I saw that.
A lot of it ended up being trashed, which we had enough to work with, thank goodness, but, I don't think that they are open to working with the bamboo again because of just how annoying it was.
Man, that first year of the Cabana when they had like the sticks like pointing up in the V,
the like vortex that went behind the stage,
and then the really like the heavy strobe onto that display of sticks was
when
beautiful.
Space Invaders was still doing it. I believe.
Yeah,
totally. Another shout out to Space Invaders.
I never went to Syncfest, but
we did that
the temple
the Mayan
that
temple.
looked really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty stunning in person. It was pretty stunning, and the detail that they actually put on the surface itself, even in the daytime when it was just white.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of like carved detail or like styrofoam. Kaylee Kowalchuk, she worked with Space Invaders, and she works with Pagoda as well. She was one of the ones that helped do the dragons on Pagoda.
Carving all that stuff out.
Yeah, like, I mean, my visual knowledge has been just doing LED screens, just the square 1 at 10 really.
Yeah.
But I'm really fascinated in how, and that's kind of why I chose all these videos and stuff, in how stage design is evolving through the years. It's getting, like, if you watched any of the EDC or Ultra streams and stuff, like, they're getting absolutely bananas with what they're able to do. It's a very dominant
point of their presentation.
Like, these structures are completely huge. Like, I don't even have a word to describe how large they are, because they're just so huge. Like, I don't even know the power that it takes to drive, like, all those lighting and LED and all that stuff. And you got to think, like, where we are now, and if you went back 6 years and looked at what Ultra Music Festival was like, when 6 years ago you looked at Ultra Music Festival and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. And then you see it now and you're just like, holy cow, that's even more crazy. And then where is it gonna go? Like, 6 to 10 years from now, like, the detail that they're putting in this and the stage technology that they're using to make these visuals, like, so trippy, for lack of a better word.
Stanley Kubrick would be proud.
I mean, Excision and Bema, they did their tour with the massive LED wall, and I mean, I was looking at photos of it. I don't know if you know the photographer Rooks.
I have no.
He's like a pretty, one of probably, if not the most famous DJ photographer.
Yeah.
He did a bunch of photos of the stage, and like, it looks like each image is like an actual like painting. You can't tell it's an LED wall.
Cool.
It looks. That's how. I'm pretty sure it's almost like 4K definition, I would say, like, if you went to like pixel density, isn't it?
Wow.
And when you have visuals that are that detailed, where you're looking at it, and on top of that, it's in perfect sync with the music.
Yeah.
it completely elevates the feeling that music gets you. It's almost like when you're looking at it, the visuals are what's actually driving the music.
Yeah.
And where it's kind of the other way around.
Yeah.
Actually, it's like the music's driving the visuals, but when it's so in perfect sync like that, it's almost as if, you know, when a robot's arms clash together and you hear that big smash, it's almost like you're actually seeing it because it's so realistic and photo detailed.
Yeah, you kind of just invest. You submit and you invest into the experience and you let it draw you in.
I actually have not seen Android Jones. I missed him last year at Chambala. I was working at Pagoda, but
oh god, it was good.
I can imagine just how awe-dropping.
Yeah,
I've got some videos on my phone I'll show you after we finish.
You know,
recording.
sober or not, like that, you probably would not want to blink at any given second just because it's a constant evolving.
I was actually a little bit choked, or I guess everybody was a little bit choked because Tipper was slated to go on at 1:30, and we roll in there at like 20 after.
Try and get a good spot.
And he was already on.
Oh no!
And I was like, "What the hell? Like this is Android and Tipper. Like what? How long had they been on?" And someone was like, "I don't know, like about 15 minutes." And so the guy that was supposed to be before him, I think didn't show up, and I think they just went for it. They were just like, "We don't really have a backup plan. Let's just go." So us getting there trying to be like on time, and we missed half the freaking thing, and it was only an hour long.
Yeah,
it was kind of disappointing, but it was the most incredible 45-minute visual experience.
I feel kind of bad because I was like so into like all of the tracks that Tipper was playing that I couldn't separate myself from it. I found myself dancing at the back with my eyes closed anyways. So
his music is pretty next level. I mean,
it's pretty special.
I was talking with Mr. Bill. I talk with Mr. Bill here and there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say super good friends, but we chat online and whatnot. But we were talking about shout out to Mr. Bill.
What's up, Bill?
We were talking about Android Jones or no, Tipper's music, and if you put Tipper's music through like the Spectrum Analyzer, his stuff is so like straight, like the whole frequency spectrum is just filled out, and there's no real curve to it or anything like that, and that's so hard to do without getting sounds that just muddy up the other. And, and his stuff is so clean, and I guess Mr. Bill's touring right now with KJ Saka.
Yeah.
And his visual guy is called Pickles.
Pickles.
I never heard of. I don't know.
Drama.
I don't know of Pickles, but I guess Pickles' father, I think if I'm getting this right, used to produce music for Madonna, or still does. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And he showed his dad Tipper, and he was just like blown away by Tipper's music.
That's good.
Wow.
And he there's a show, I think, True Detective. Don't know if it's True Detective or something like that, but the intro music is Tipper.
What?
And that came from that relationship of his dad getting introduced to Tipper's music and showing getting the contacts with that.
I read Tipper's Wikipedia page one day, and I didn't realize that he was as immersed in like film and commercial like sound score. Like he just does like environmental sounds, and he does a lot of just sound engineering for
that's where the actual money is.
Yeah,
though.
totally.
Sound design.
He lives out in Hawaii now too. That's his base of operations. He's got it pretty good. I think he's living life to the fullest.
Totally, yeah.
But he should be, considering that, like, for all intents and purposes, when he was writing this album, The Forward Escape, he had to go for heart surgery and thought he was going to die. So it's actually a really interesting story.
Probably
because
too many of these.
Yeah. Well, I think he just had a bad heart, and that song that Android did the video for is called Life Raft for a Death Trip, and that was apparently the last song that he wrote before he went for surgery, and he was convinced that was, like, he wrote that song to be, this is where Tipper closes. This is the last song that's going to be in my chapter forever. And this, if you listen to the song with that in mind, you hear how it just, like, starts really, like, you know, just with the sound of like a babbling creek, and it just the sounds, like, everything builds and builds and builds, and it gets to this like heavy crescendo, and then it just like fades into nothing. And it's really beautiful. But then when he survived it, he came back and wrote the rest of the album, and the song that he wrote, the first song that he wrote when he came back, is called The Re-Up, and the Re-Up is like super playful, and like it just makes you feel like, you know, really happy. Yeah.
Bubbles.
So for him to be,
I've been expanding my musical endeavors lately, I guess, or interests lately, into more of the IDM sort of side of stuff. Because like I said, I was working in the club every weekend and DJing. I haven't DJed for a long time now, maybe it's 6 or 7 months, and just I don't know, I just got tired of hearing house, drum and bass, dubstep, all that stuff.
Yep.
And it's just, there's still great artists and DJs and stuff out there making it, and I still listen to it, but
You can get burned out with anything.
lately I've been just like, you know, clean the house or whatever, put on some chilled vibe stuff like Aphex Twin and Amon Tobin and all this stuff. Actually, recently I there's a new radio show on Beats One, which is Apple Music's radio station, like BBC Radio
Right,
One.
because they bought Beats.
Yeah,
Plug in the name.
And Mousetrap, Dead Mouse,
Yep.
has his own radio show on it. That's on its second week right now.
Oh yeah, I heard a couple people talking about this, but I didn't.
You know,
really...
I was definitely always a big Dead Mouse fan, but I mean, I came into electronic music from the very commercial side, and like I said, I'm more expanding away from all that stuff. I'm not as big of a Dead Mouse fan as I used to be, for multitude of reasons, which I'm sure other people shared the same disdain for. But his radio show is really, really good. It's not a DJ mix. It's just like him playing his like favorite tracks.
Cool.
And it's like Boards of Canada, Aphex Twin, Tycho.
Yeah.
And he's got really good taste in music. Like I'm finding a lot of artists that I never heard of through that are like super experimental, glitchy vibe stuff you would never hear in a club. Like, basically, and it's interesting to me. It'd be cool to hear that stuff in an actual show and like pair it with, you know, crazy visuals. Maybe not this crazy visuals, but
the Excision's Paradox stage is now on the screen, and it's pretty much the pinnacle.
This
One
is
of the most incredible audio-visual experiences that anybody's put together. And this has only been... He's only been touring for like 2 months with this?
I think 4 months now,
4?
Actually.
Was it when it launched? God, has it been that long since I saw the first videos of it?
Yeah, it was like October, November, something
and
like that.
Ben and Lee from Bima Visuals that helped work on it.
They just finished the last show.
They finally got to go see one of the last shows.
Last weekend.
Yeah.
In Denver. The last one.
It sucks because the tour here, when it came to Calgary, what was it, Flame Central, right?
Yeah, Flame Central. We were
couldn't
one
support.
of...
We're lacking very severely on venues right now.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
10 had its run, and there was people that loved it, and there was people that absolutely despised 10.
Yeah.
But now that it's gone, there's literally three venues.
Well,
I think I
Marquis
can
picked up some of the slack.
Yeah, but has it met the same level of quality that we have? I mean, it's a bigger venue, and I would definitely say it's a nicer venue.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I guess it is a nice place. I remember it as the back alley. That was where it was. You know.
I mean, I'm not too. I went there for Infected Mushroom. That was a very good show.
Yeah.
But they had brought in their own lighting tech, and there was no visuals. Just like the big
They had the
metal
animatronica things.
Mushroom thing. I should have added those videos on there. That's cool. It's a cool stage. It's like, I've never been to Burning Man. You guys have, but it looks like it's like something you would see at Burning Man with like these rusted metal teeth and stuff going on.
Oh man, this reminds me of one of the coolest art installations that we saw at Burning Man. It was this great big steel welded serpent. It was
Serpent
called
Mother.
it was called the Serpent Mother. Actually, I'll see if I can.
It was
bring
by the
up.
Flaming Lotus Girls, and I would just bring up a video of it.
It's happening.
I wonder if you'll be able to find it. People are usually pretty kind of uptight about people videotaping art installations at Burning Man. It's very much supposed to be like, no man, put your fucking camera away and just live it. Just this is for you right here, right now.
Here we go.
Yeah, Fractal's really stingy on who they let.
Even on the poster, did you notice like the new Shambhala poster?
Yep.
For 2015.
Well, Fractal's on either side.
I know, but it's like barely. If you know Fractal, you'll be like, okay, I see the triangle. But like every other stage has this like crazy.
Yeah, check this out.
So it's got this egg over here that's being protected by the Serpent Mother's tail, and it shoots blue and pink flames into the sky.
Yeah, they were shooting different mixtures through it, so that there's the blue and green kind of flames.
But the guy down here is controlling it with a modified PlayStation controller.
Yeah, so after they close the egg, they let you come in and walk around, like walk underneath it and fuck around with it. And actually, the head of the snake, he'll actually like bring it down and like put it right in your face and like open the mouth, and you can almost like climb in the head. And I mean, this thing's easily 50 feet.
Pyro always like
wide or long.
I don't know. I'm never really. I'm nervous about pyro at shows. I guess. Just because it's cool.
Oh man, look at that! See, we never got to see the actual.
If it goes wrong, it goes wrong fast.
Full presentation.
Well, after the man had fallen, I remember like looking over and being like, "Oh my God, there's blue and pink
what is
flames.
going
What's
on
going
over
on?"
there?
And then of course, as soon as we get there, the egg is like closing back up, and they let you go up and touch it. And
It's
stuff.
beautiful, and I think that
Not
was the
touch
last.
it, but-
I think that was the last time they did the
Interesting.
burn because of course, they just go through so much fuel.
They they did that last one though because it was so dusty that they had excess
Oh
fuel.
yeah, right. It was a very dusty year this year, and a lot of the, like they had a big like a trebuchet, like a big one, like 50 feet tall, and they were throwing pianos that were on fire. So
Wow.
they would people would line up
That's
for
great.
hundreds of feet, and they had the drop zone and everything marked out. But they would just douse it in gasoline and light it up, and then just like
These like
just huck
super
it through the
hillbilly
air.
looking guys in
Oh, yeah.
overalls and American bandanas and big ass beards. Like, let's just
Confederation
throw
flags
some
and-
flaming shit around the playa.
Yeah, it was hilarious, but I guess they had to like wait until the last day of the festival to just throw a bunch of pianos because it was just so dusty. There's so much wind and dust storms that they couldn't do a lot of that, and also like a lot of the pilots, the planes couldn't fly, so there was not a lot of skydiving. It's an interesting year.
Yeah.
We'll see if I get invited to go this year. I'm not too sure what shows I'm doing with PK this summer. I know I'm on Shawm.
Yep.
Believe I'm on Mono. I don't think I can do Astral because I have to go to a wedding that weekend, unfortunately. But that was fun. I went last year. Last year was my first year at Astral. It was a fun festival.
Love it.
They're from what I hear, almost in every aspect, they're gonna push it. They're gonna.
This
step
is
their
the
game
year
up.
they hit the big leagues.
Yep. We did actually. We saw the lineup the other day, and there's some pretty impressive names on there. It's not all of it though, I don't think.
No.
But yeah, there's gonna be all sorts of new things to do at Astral and stuff.
But
like
no
that. Plus,
pumpkin.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
I know. Oh man, yeah. We had Long Walk and Jim Vanderhorst in here a few days ago to do a podcast.
Oh, okay.
We were gonna do it Rebel Cause Films, but Long Walk happened to be in town because he was just passing through for his tour. And that one, we like put a 24 pack of beer away in like no time flat. It got really silly, and we were having so much fun. And then I made the mistake of like bringing up Pumpkin and the death, and I felt like I just killed the energy in the room. Like you'll be able to see it in the podcast. Like Dave looks like he's just like, fuck, why did you say that? You know, it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, I'm learning to remember Pumpkin and remember him and
how he
like
was.
celebrate.
Oh, yeah.
Like that chap, that life was quintessential, just perfect.
I mean, my interaction with Pumpkin was only maybe 3 or 4 times when he played at 10 and then at Astral, and I didn't know him, but every time I talked to him, it was like he was already like your best friend in that sense. Like
I know.
he
He's
didn't.
that kind of guy.
He didn't. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of artists, being, what I do with managing stage gear and all that.
Yeah.
And you get the odd guys that don't want anything to do with you.
Yep.
Don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I know.
They'll even get annoyed if you're standing in the same room as them. And then
want
you have
their
other
space.
guys that will literally, greet you with a hug, and you don't even know them. And they'll,
Oh
and
my
they'll
gosh,
Govinda.
Hodor.
Oh yeah.
He was hilarious.
He was
Christian
so
nerd.
kind and humble, and he just wanted to talk
That
to
show
everybody.
was so good.
It was so great.
And it was funny was that it was like I had done Northern Lights in Edmonton the 2 days before that, so I had seen some pretty good artists, big name artists and whatnot, and I had gone back to 10 to do the
the Rave of
Hodor show,
Thrones.
and I was like, this is gonna be stupid. Like, this is just some guy running off the Game of Thrones name, like whatever. And he threw down the craziest set of
Well,
the
he
weekend.
was a DJ before he was an actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like I didn't like his set. I was having so much fun with it. Like I
know.
did not expect him to be that fun.
And
I
Like,
didn't expect all his tattoos and shit everywhere too. Like the
and,
show does a really good job covering that
I
up.
also have
He was-
actually seen a guy
hand was
as
like that
big
on
as that,
me.
like probably Andre the Giant size.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
And
had
such
to,
a sweetheart. Just
Yeah,
So
such a
cute,
sweetheart.
yeah.
we had to put the DJ gear up on cases.
Yeah.
So it was up to here, and I don't know if you know Leia. She
Leia.
played.
Amy?
Yeah, she played right before him, and she's a little smaller. So we had to sit her on a case to get up onto the cases of DJ, and it was just like,
Caseception.
yeah.
I actually, yeah, in Bill's rider, Mr. Bill.
Yeah, he's a
won
tall guy as well.
48 inch height for his gear. And actually, we need to send something. We need to confirm that with Closey because, oh shit.
Wow.
Well, I guess we're gonna. No, I guess we can cut that out.
Yeah,
I can't just like.
it's in the plans.
Oh
damn,
no.
yeah. Whatever. We may cut that out. If not, then
You didn't drop me details.
I know. We just
Yeah.
really always wanted to bring it. Anyway, yeah, she apparently wants a really high DJ booth as well, like 48 inches, and I'm like, there's no way. 48 inches is way too high. You're tiny. That's not a thing.
You do like trust DJ booths.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it.
I built this table just recently. The Android Jones banner is definitely not coming with us for we're bringing the podcast to festivals. We're putting together like a battery and an inverter and like solar, and
cool.
We're gonna make it so that we can bring it to the festivals and interview coordinators and artists and vendors and all sorts of shit. But I'm making the table, and we've got, I'm not gonna spill the beans on that, I guess. I don't want. We've got some cool like Calgary artists that are gonna do like paintings and like pieces on the table. So it'll be like a collaborative, like it's just a wooden table. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be just like covered in art, but also like supporting local.
Cool.
And why did I get on this tangent in the first place?
No.
Oh yeah, I built this table for the podcast that's going to be all decked out. But then we also built that big one that's in the stairs there. It's like a 7-foot. I built it nice and high. I built it like 36 inches high.
But it's still not big enough.
But still, it's like, you want me to go up another 12 inches?
Yeah.
What?
And be sturdy.
Yeah.
Because it's got thousands of dollars of gear on it.
Yeah.
I've seen a few videos where a table gets turned over. Those are always funny, the DJ fail competitions.
That almost happened to you and Eric. Last time you guys played at Night Owl, Devin fell into the...
Devin tripped over something and took the DJ booth with him. And we were all just standing there going like, oh God, here it goes. And the DJ booth went over, and there's CDJs and our controller and Eric's computer, and it's like somebody from the crowd, I don't even know who it was, it happened so fast, but somebody just like ninja'd up and caught it. And just as it had hit the monitors on the stands, and so then the monitors start going over, he pushes the thing up. 2 people run in and grab the 2 speakers before they fall over, stand them back up. Not a single thing was damaged, and it could have, like, the whole thing could have just exploded in that one moment.
Yeah.
And it's like all from just tripping over a wire. You just never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's like on New Year's when we had Bima doing the main stage, and we had a kind of a Cubert style cube thing as a facade on the table.
I think I remember seeing photos of this.
And there was these people. There was this blonde girl that kept taking one of the old veterans up on stage and like shaking her ass against him and everything. And she just wanted to be doing it right in front of everybody, like on the stage. But they were getting closer and closer to stumbling back into this.
Yeah.
That's the problem with too many people that try and get onto the stage to make the show about them.
Yeah.
And
it's like, if you touch that
I've gotten good at I'm usually pretty patient in that I'll explain to somebody, I'll push them aside and be like, hey, you just gotta be nice about it the first time and
we were.
And say, but if they do it the second time, that's when I pull out angry
Dan. I found out that she did it 3 times. I was only one of the people that told her to fuck off.
Man. Yeah.
And drinks is the biggest thing. We've had a few. We had a few close calls attend. Not so much the DJ nights, but the hip hop nights. There would be 50 people on stage. Like, you couldn't even see the DJ.
Wow.
And they're just pouring Alizé and whatever into each other's cups and right over top of the DJ gear too. And I'm just man. I don't know how nothing serious ever happened. Actually, I will say that we never had a single serious issue at 10 in the 3.5 years that I worked there.
That's awesome.
There was one time I remember a DJ had brought his own mixer, and he was adamant about using it, and it was some like Gemini Behringer mixer, and we were like, we have a better mixer, you should use this one. And he was like, no, it's my mixer, like I know what I'm doing. And he got up there, and it just died. And we were like, well, we have no idea what to do, because I've never seen this mixer before. I don't know how to troubleshoot it. Mm-hmm. It's all new. And that was like 10 minutes of silence. We've had a sub blown before. But the good thing is, and a speaker, because PK Sound is from Calgary, and the club had PK Sound, we would just make a call, and they would literally bring a replacement gear within an hour, and they would just rip it out and put a new one in. And you'll never get that anywhere else.
Well, that's what was interesting about Sal's when it was still open, because they had PK speakers, but they sounded like garbage. Like they weren't maintained at all.
I would say that would be before PK really started developing their own like designs and stuff for the boxes and stuff like that. I don't know the details too much about PK and Sal's, but I remember that at the same time, a lot of clubs, like the difference between a club like Sal's and a club like 10 is 10 had its own dedicated sound engineer,
Yeah, Sal's is just like
who
they
was
just
able
bought the
to
speakers.
monitor it and, you know, tune the room.
Yeah.
And most clubs will just set a limiter.
Yeah.
Then it's just like you can't go above that volume, and if you try to do it, it won't do it, and you'll just end up sounding like crap.
Yeah, you just get a muddy, like just saturated.
Because your high parts stay the same volume, but your low parts stay really loud.
Yeah.
So when it goes to a breakdown, your breakdown's at full volume, and then it goes to build up, and it's like, I can't build up into anything, and then you lose all your energy on the drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a critical thing that a lot of people overlook, I guess. And
I tried so hard to educate the DJs when they came through 10 about sound quality and, you know, why it would make a difference. And, you know, a lot of people, a lot of DJs don't seem to really understand, like...
Red line equals more panties thrown on the stage.
It's a whole sound system. Doesn't matter how good it is, Function 1, PK, Meyer, whatever. Every sound system is only going to be as good as its weakest link.
as the signal coming in as well.
And
right?
so if your tracks are crap quality, if your EQing sucks, if your volume is too loud, if your cables suck, if your engineer's drunk and can't do things properly, you know, or if your speakers are blown, like there's a whole range of things that affects the sound. And if any single one of those is not up to par, the rest of the system falls apart.
Yeah.
You can improve on it a bit, but you can only polish a turd, you know, so much. And a big thing that I tried to drive home through a lot of friends of mine and other, you know, newer DJs was, you know, buying your music matters as a DJ. Like getting a lossless quality file is way better than getting an MP3. I shouldn't say way better. It's better that you won't notice and nobody else will notice, but the difference is there, and at the end of the day, you're going to be known for having perfect sound, not just good sound. You
just
know,
that crystal clear representation of the
like
original.
a lot of people would say, like, oh, I can't tell a difference between an MP3 and a WAV file or an AIFF file, and you're probably right, because you're listening on headphones or you're listening to your home stereo.
What are you listening to it on?
But if you're listening to an $80,000 stereo system in a nightclub that can do, you know, 25 hertz all the way up to 20k hertz, you can actually reproduce all those frequencies that converting to an MP3 is going to lose. Because
Skull Candy's just not doing it.
a lot of people don't understand like what MP3 is and where it came from, and you know what its purpose is. MP3 was created by the film industry for a way to store like Foley sounds, like a bone cracking or something. You'd have these large libraries of sound, and you didn't need, because that sound is only such a small sound, and it's only a small section of the frequency range. You can compress the crap out of it, and MP3 does a good job where it keeps the important stuff, and it deletes and destroys the rest of the information that it determines are like unnecessary empty bits of information.
Interesting.
But the lower you go, the more it's going to eat into the important bits of information that actually generate sound. So when you look at a lossless file and then you look at an MP3 file, the MP3 at highest quality is 320 kilobits per second, which means 320 kilobits
of information
of little bits per second of audio that is possible of doing, whereas a WAV file or an AFF file is 1411 at 16-bit. 44.1 is 1411 kilobits a second. So it's more than 4 times the amount of detail
information
any given second. And most of the time where it's cut out when you convert to MP3 is in the very, very high end. Not so much the low end, but I got really good at and like working in a nightclub where I could actually hear when a DJ was playing an MP3 track versus a wave, and not so much a full quality MP3, but anything less than 320, I could pick it up right away because I was able to actually hear, and we had a spectrum analyzer on the audio console too, and sure enough you'd see this roll off right at 18 kilohertz or whatever, where it would roll off, and you know, to your average person on the dance floor that's drunk or high, they have no idea, they don't care. They are barely able to even hear a 4-to-the-floor kick drum and maintain timing, but you know it makes a difference. And at the end of the day, where it makes a difference is ear fatigue. If you have for people who don't produce at home, if you put a filter on something right where it cuts off, you have a little bit of a resonance there, and that can really, do damage to your ears, that resonant sound. And so when you have an MP3 where it cuts off right at the high end, and so if you have stuff like a filter sweep where it's like, that resonance is like amplified so much when it's a lower quality file.
That's like the feeling of when you get those like sharp filter sweeps, and then you get that
really
feeling in
it's
your
like
ears. It's like, ow.
When you have a lossless file, it still does it, but it's not as harsh, because if you were to imagine zooming into the waveform in real time, in the air, into Ableton, I guess, right? You'd see it, instead of a staircase step, it would be this more smooth waveform, and that it generates into your eardrum is incredibly sensitive, so it still is feeling that jagged, staircase that an MP3 does. It's not pronounced, but at 110 decibels of volume, you're definitely hearing it.
Can you imagine being blind and going to something like this, like where certain elements of your senses are heightened, like listening to music like this when you're...
I think, Excision's music would probably be
wow,
a little over the top.
Yeah.
But
I really appreciate what Excision's been doing. For the most part, some of the music is a little bit too squealy for me.
It's a bit much for me,
I'm not super into it, but he's hitting a market.
Clearly other people are.
He's hitting a market that people... It's like, I honestly... I'm sure people are going to be offended when I say this, but it's honestly like the heavy metal of electronic music.
No,
I feel.
I relate to that completely.
Agree.
Is you get in there and you thrash like you're in a pit, and it has that primal stomping feel to it. It's just, it was kind of one of the reasons why I came over from the metal scene and had an easy...
This stage here is Zed's stage. Jesus pose right there.
But Jesus pose.
It's very similar to Excision's Paradox, where you're finding nowadays is all these DJs are investing a ton of money into the visual aspect of the show. The sound as well, like Excision tours with, PK Sound Rig and Bass Nectar tours with the Maya rig and all this stuff, but the visuals is becoming such a huge thing, and he hired on a team that, just like Excision's, this massive LED wall just extends from one side of the room all the way to the other, and like custom 4K content visuals that you're only going to see at his show, and they're all perfectly synced to the music. I think that just really immerses the crowd into whatever it is. And it's kind of interesting to like think about the point of all of it, I guess, and that you're just supposed to completely lose your senses in all aspects.
It's just like guided meditation. It's like just
pretty much
letting
is.
go.
It's like,
it's a good way to put it.
Sound, feeling of the bass hitting you, heat, anything.
The taste.
That would be nice.
It's like what I've been experimenting with, like sensory deprivation float tanks, and the way that
I've done one of those before.
The way that it just what your mind does when you just let go and you have no stimulus to the senses, rather than like it's the opposite of just letting your environment saturate stimulate your senses. I'm tripping over my words. But the float tanks are amazing because your mind at a certain point, you can feel it, like it's so used to stimulus that it's like recoiling a bit.
You realize you're feeling it, and then it brings you back to your reality.
It's just like
a lot of people don't realize. Like I've only done one float tank, but I knew kind of what to expect going into it from what all I've read and seen about it, and like it's really, really hard to turn your mind off. Like it seems like, when you go to bed, like that's what you do, but not really. When you go to bed and you lay down, you're thinking about your day or your troubles or your next day that you're supposed to do, or your dreams, even like where you want to be. It's really hard, and that's what the sensory deprivation tank, what you're supposed to do, from what I understand, is you're supposed to go into it and just not think about anything.
I don't know if I agree with that, because even when it comes to like meditation, the common misconception about it is that like you're supposed to sit there and not think about anything, just clear your mind, and that's not necessarily it, because that can just cause more stress when you're just like, why am I having all these thoughts? I'm supposed to be like not thinking right now or whatever. It's more about, having the time to think and come to conclusions about things that, might be stressing you out or might be worrying you in a more calm and quiet environment away from that sort of stimulus, like Definitely. Have these thoughts, accept them, and then let them go.
And you're also not getting any distractions. It's like right now, our generation is the ADD generation because
raised on the iPad.
We're just throwing so many different notifications left and right, and
that instant gratification reward system of social media.
Yep. Draws you in way too much.
Yeah. Well, how about we pour it over to what we one of the things that we really wanted to talk about, kind of the reason that we instigated this podcast,
Sure,
is all the hype about SoundCloud switching to a subscription service and flipping everybody on their heads and basically insulting the people who helped build the site, just like shitting on underground music.
Yeah.
Which was...
I mean, I feel like SoundCloud didn't have a choice.
Yeah, it's true.
People are mad at SoundCloud, and I definitely don't think that they did the way they went about it wasn't the best way. But
they're in a lot of debt, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, the way that the music industry works right now is that the major labels feel that you owe them money if you listen to any sort of variation of work that they own the copyright to.
Right.
So it would be like walking into an art gallery and seeing a printing of this on the wall, and then the actual artist being like, you owe me money for looking at that that piece of paper that's a print of it. And that's, in a sense, what I see SoundCloud is people were... The amazing thing about SoundCloud was it opened up the door for amateur musicians to just make the crappiest mashup you've ever heard in your life. But they had somewhere that they could share it, they could get critique on it back, and they could learn from it.
Yeah, it was more of a community than something like MySpace was. MySpace, you kind of just had to know the person's page, or they had to have shared it with you to find it. But SoundCloud had like a... I love my SoundCloud app because I pull it open and I can go to my home, like the stream, and it'll literally show me all the new things for people that I'm connected to, or repost stuff that they like. It'll feed you kind of this stream, this trickle down of what's going on.
But it come down to was the major music labels were losing grasp over their hold on the music industry.
Yeah.
And
well, maybe we don't want them.
I agree. I mean, I feel honestly in this day and age, and unless you get super big as an independent artist, you don't need anything to do with major labels. No. Like, you can market your music yourself, you can sell it yourself, you can post it up yourself, you can get away for free. A major label's role nowadays is mainly for like marketing out to like, international markets. But even then, with the internet, like, physical media is arguably dead.
Yeah.
The vinyl has seen a little bit of a resurgence and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But people are not buying CDs anymore. You're not getting your CD into Walmart, so you don't need a major label to do that deal of distribution and stuff. So, I don't really see what role a major label plays.
Yeah. And
they realized that they were losing, because the major labels in the past, in the 80s and 90s and 70s, were banking in an insanely gross amount of money.
Raping the artists, as always.
And, with the rise of the internet and SoundCloud and, piracy, but piracy was not dipping into artist sales. I mean, it was to an extent, but at the same time, people were discovering more music than ever before.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny is that I've read statistics that have said that most of the people who actually pirate the most content also end up contributing the most money into the market as well.
Interesting.
In one way or another.
Yeah.
Well, like that would come down to like pirating music, but then paying money to go and see these artists live.
Yeah.
True.
In ways.
Well, how do you feel about SoundCloud's platform? And I guess that question should be more so phrased in the fact, like, which one do you think... I know you said that you had some faith in Apple Music, but what are the advantages? Like, we got Spotify, we've got Tidal, we've got Apple Music, now SoundCloud is going subscription. They all want to try and have this massive library of songs that you can just pay $10 a month to access for free. Which one catches your eye and why?
Well, I think first of all, explain for people listening, like, what SoundCloud did and what it turned into. So SoundCloud was a free service. Anyone could get an account, and you could listen to unlimited amounts of music, follow any artist you wanted. Nobody was making money off of it. if you made a song and you posted it and it got 8 million plays, you didn't make any money.
In the beginning.
Up until just now.
Even still a couple weeks ago.
But exposure-wise, it was huge because it had this huge customer base because it was just this free exchange of music, and the artists that were uploading their own music and even their own amateur remixes and stuff and bootlegs and stuff, maybe they would take a crack at, remixing a song from an artist they really wanted to and they looked up to. They wanted to do that, and they would, reinterpret it into their own version, and they would upload that, and that would get a few million views, and they would give it away for free, and still nobody was making money off of any of it.
In fact, you're paying money to do all of that.
If you wanted to, as an artist, you could get a SoundCloud Pro account, which you had to pay. I think it was like $90 or $80 a year or something. That's starting. Yeah. It goes up in tiers depending on how much. All it did was give you analytics, so you could see, who's listening where in the country.
Allowed you to upload more hours.
And you could upload more content, but it didn't protect you from what was happening in the last few years. Was these copyright notices were getting thrown everywhere. Yeah. And what happened was the major labels, Sony, Warner, and BMG, which I think are the only three there are. If I remember, there's only 3 major music labels in the world.
Yikes.
They are all coalescing to take down any work that they feel was affecting their sales. So it's like if you were to do a Jay-Z remix and post it up and it got 8 million views and you gave it away for free, they felt that was money owed to them for the artist that they have signed Jay-Z to their music label, and that you were stealing right from their pocket by that, even though you didn't upload the original song. It was just an acapella maybe you threw on top or whatever, or it was a DJ mix and you had a track in there.
I could understand if you were just reproducing, if you were uploading the original song,
or if you were selling it. If you were making money off someone else's dime, then totally. But I think I read a book when I was in audio engineering school about 8 or 9 years ago now that was called The Future of Music, and it had a chapter in there. This is before streaming music, really, even before SoundCloud existed, and it talked about how the guy envisioned the future of music to be like water, where you don't think about water being there. You go upstairs to your kitchen and you turn on the tap and water's there, and then you get a bill at the end of the month that says you've used this much water, here's what you pay for. And I think that's where it's heading to right now. But the major music labels, they want control over everything, and they really want to shut out the independent artists, because before, in the 80s and 90s and 70s and even before that, if you wanted to release a music or a CD or whatever, a record, you had to get a loan, you had to pay for studio time, you had to go through a contract to get your music out there, and now you can do away with all of that with a $500 laptop and a pirated copy of your favorite software.
Unfortunately, it's quite common that people pirate the tools.
Totally, but I think if you're in a position where you can afford it, totally go for it.
Right. Yeah, that's something that Deadmau5 was saying in like a couple of the interviews, where he says like it might be okay to pirate it at first, just to get your feet wetted to see if you even want to pursue the path. But if you get to the point where you've made $1,000 on your music, maybe start thinking about crediting the developers or the people who helped you get there.
If you are in a position where you can't afford something that exists in the digital realm, I don't think you should be shunned away from being creative and experiencing it.
Well, and even let alone like in whatever DAW anybody ever chooses to use, like VSTs alone, like some of them cost up to $500 a pop
or more.
Like it's
because of the R&D that goes into it, right? They want to be able to
for sure.
Totally. All those software developers deserve the money that for people using it. Right. I mean, if everyone pirated it, nobody would make the stuff. It's the same thing with music. If everybody just stole music, nobody would be making money. Nobody would be inclined to create stuff.
Yeah. Well, do you know of Patreon?
I've heard of Patreon.
Yeah, we actually we started up our Patreon account. It's a total shameless plug, but go check out the Genesa project on Patreon. It's a really cool platform that I've been contributing to other podcasts that I enjoy, and it's a really cool system where you can literally be like, okay, I want to donate $3 an episode or $3 a month to this person, or 20 or 1,000, whatever. You choose your thing, and if it's like per episode, like I really like this podcast and I want to see them, advance. I'll do like $3 an episode with a maximum of $6 a month or something. So if they go ham, I don't just get like debited like crazy. But it's kind of a cool way to donate where you're actually legitimately like putting your support, you're offering to help someone's path or someone's project succeed. And so you're a patron. You're a true patron of that.
Yeah.
And it's just a really honest and cool platform. I saw when I was searching through that, I saw like a lot of DJs and producers, or producers in general, like Ataya. He's got an account, and a lot of his dedicated fans just donate a certain amount of money per song. So instead of purchasing that song through a website, there's now a completely third-party platform where fans that are fans enough of that person can decide, sure, I'll give you $2 every single time you release a song.
Yeah. Well,
and it's transparent as well, so the artist, it shows at the top exactly how many patrons they have and exactly how much money they receive per song or per month. So it's kind of
it's sort of similar to the Bandcamp platform.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Bandcamp. I wish that had become more popular, but I see the way that technology is going, streaming is the future, and that's just comes down to, we don't need to store data anymore on physical hard drives or physical media.
You can if you choose to.
You can, but with the way that technology is improving so rapidly, streaming stuff constantly, anywhere, anytime you want, is possible now. So as it gets more and more, as the years go by, it's going to get more and more better. So I see why streaming is going to take off. But Bandcamp, I stopped buying from Beatport almost 2 or 3 years ago, unless I absolutely had to, because I did not like their I didn't like their service or their website and all that. But I like Bandcamp's model, where it's like, you have someone like Mr. Bill, for instance, who releases all his music through Bandcamp, and it's all, as far as I know, it's all just pay what you want.
Donation based.
Bill's platform is that all of his music is free, or you can choose to donate for it.
And you know what? He has probably made more money doing that than he would have.
He's also like teaching Ableton to people and making money through that means too, right?
Yeah. But I mean, off his actual music, the thing is, if you give people the means, the easiest way to access your music possible, that's what it comes down to. And that's what made SoundCloud so good, was it made it super easy for people to access your creations.
Yeah.
And
SoundCloud's interface, SoundCloud's setup was beautiful. Or it is. I love it.
For a bit.
I still like it.
Scrolling sometimes I find is it gets like, if you go through like tons and tons of pages, my browser like lags down.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, Facebook does that with like photo albums and stuff.
I never liked the commenting feature of SoundCloud. I thought they could have done a better job on that, but that's it's just arguing.
Yeah, I love
semantics.
the certain labels and stuff releasing some of their artist tracks for free, but you go to the download and it'll take you to their tone den, and you have to like and comment and share like the forced comments, so you just like see all of these little squares at the bottom of the waveform. Half of them are just like fuck you, or like
I did that. I did one of those recently to get a free download for a track, and it like subscribed me to like 18 different artists that I'd never heard of, and I didn't want anything to do with.
That's
and I was like, you know what, you shouldn't have to force people to go through these hoops to get your music. That's going to make drive people to piracy. I would rather go and Google your song or off the Pirate Bay or whatever, and spend the time searching for a legit pirated copy of it, than going through these hoops that you have to get me to download just because you want more follower numbers.
Well, it's like that in any way with just advertising in general. I remember I watched one of the Cracked. They do the videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
They are hilarious, but they did an episode where they were talking about how like the world of advertising like is losing.
Oh, it's
you
crashing.
guys are winning.
Yeah.
Like give yourself a pat on the back, because they are crying. They're struggling to try and find ways to fight back, like the consumer level. The consumer level is like finally getting to the point where they're just like, I don't want to watch that shit, and I don't have to. So no.
It's when I have ad block software and stuff put on, but if you still get like on your phone, if you watch YouTube, it still sometimes make you go through an ad.
Right,
and, like
yeah.
I don't even give them like if an ad comes on, I
turn your phone
turn
around.
my mute off and I
Yeah,
put it on my lap and I just
exactly.
go, okay, I'm just gonna wait 10 seconds. I don't care what your product like.
You're not winning.
I'm not gonna let you, brainwash me into buying your product. If that's what you got to do to make me interested in your product is to force me to sit through this, ad, I'm not interested. Like it's
you insult the consumer.
Yeah.
in a big way.
so. But back to SoundCloud.
Sorry.
With so that they launched this new subscription service now, and it's $10 a month. And what's interesting is it's pretty much the same service. So
They are going to be adding
as a
music
free-
from those labels.
Yeah.
though, right?
So basically, what they did was they made every song that was tagged that was owned by a major music label, you now can't listen to it unless
Right.
it's on.
Yeah, you mentioned something
Unless
about
you have
Porter
a
Robinson.
subscribe. Yeah, so if you go to an artist right now that that's very popular, that like very, very popular,
Yeah.
and you go to play their tracks on SoundCloud, you probably won't be able to, and it'll say not available in your country.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
not
that's
available in Canada.
until you pay for a subscription service, and that's fine because it's signed to a major music label. They own it. That's what they do. But the problem is that if you're an independent artist, you're not making any money off of those $10 subscriptions. Like SoundCloud's not paying you for the if you
But
get 8 million
then-
views on your song, you're not getting a single cent from SoundCloud.
But then are you saying that independent artists, like if you're not signed to a major label, people can still listen to your
Yeah.
music without paying the $10 a month?
Yeah, totally. But that's what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
you're not getting any revenue from the service.
Yeah.
And so it's like in doing this they've split their audience like into these two groups now. You'll still be able to use SoundCloud as a free service and listen to all this music and stuff, but they've been taking down accounts like left and right. Like J-Pod's account's gone.
It's gone.
Neon Steve got axed.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that one.
He
But
said
yeah,
that he said that it was not like coming. He's like, I'm porting over to Mixcloud. It's imminent. So get ready for
and
it.
and like none of those accounts are going to be reinstated
I know.
since they moved to the
Yeah.
subscription service.
Yep.
Even though like now they wouldn't technically have to have their track removed if they were properly paying royalties for all that stuff. So I'm like upset with it 'cause it's $10 a month for SoundCloud Pro. It's $13. This is American as well.
Right.
It's $13 if you have to go through an iPhone because the way Apple's licensing works and whatnot.
Yeah. It might be just a deterrent so that people use their own.
It is,
Apple's
but
own
it
subscription service.
has to do with they take a fee for subscription services through iTunes, and like the sound quality doesn't improve at all.
No.
Yeah.
It's SoundCloud always streams at 128 kilobits per second. So if you rip tracks directly off of SoundCloud with a website called SoundCloud to MP3,
Right.
you're
I thought it was
really,
256.
really.
I
No,
thought
it's
that you could get.
128.
Is it really?
I think you might be able to get a 256 if you find like the actual site rip, but not most of them just convert the stream into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not good quality. You shouldn't do that. You should really try and find a better way to listen to music than ripping songs from YouTube and SoundCloud.
Yes.
But
Please.
that's another thing is that it allows you SoundCloud Go.
SoundCloud Go. Stupid
SoundCloud
name.
Go and SoundCloud Pro. SoundCloud Go, you can, if you're on your phone and Android or iOS, you can save the songs for later, so you don't have to stream it on your data.
Right, but the problem, I guess, with that is that they're not allowing you to do that on desktop.
Yeah, so you can't do that on the computer because there's no application for SoundCloud. It's all through the browser. So
Yeah.
you're basically paying $10 to do everything that you could before.
Yeah.
That was free 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it costs $10 because there's major labels. And so there's other competition as well. SoundCloud's the last one to come into the game. They have the biggest user base, but I think a lot of those user base is more interested in listening to music for free or in a convenience factor. And I think the way that they've gone about it, they're gonna drive a lot of those customers away.
Yeah.
Spotify is probably the most popular streaming service.
Are you saying that SoundCloud has a bigger user base than Spotify?
Yeah, if you did, it's like one of the highest trafficked websites in the world. It's like 148 on.
And then they were going broke. That's just.
Well,
but it's
they were
'cause-
going broke because they were getting charged for the way that the copyright industry works. Is if you play something, it's considered
Royalty.
Yeah, a royalty payment is owed. even though it's a very old. The laws need to be rewritten on copyright. They really do, because they're not. When they were written, nobody had envisioned streaming music on the internet and
Of course.
Yeah.
all this stuff, and so it doesn't really fit in with the way the world is now, and which is why it's gotten so complicated and hard to deal with, I guess, as a label and as an artist. And so Spotify has been around. I don't know if they were the first, but they were like the first one to go big with their service.
And I have heard really good things about Spotify.
Yeah, I tried Spotify and it was good. I liked it. It's free.
They have a decent amount of underground music, and
it's free, and there's commercials. To listen to for free, which also SoundCloud now has commercials. I haven't heard any yet, but apparently it's coming.
What's the price difference? Do you know the price difference of each one of them?
I believe they're all $10.
Are they?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Unless you have an iPhone and you want SoundCloud.
Yeah, well, Spotify will also be a little bit more on the iPhone if you subscribe through the iPhone. That's the thing. If you subscribe through your browser and then download the Spotify app, it's fine. It's just if you download the app and then subscribe through
the app,
your phone, the way Apple works is they just tack on a fee.
Oh, interesting. So have you used Apple Music?
Yeah. So I mean, when I first got Apple Music, I tried it out and I hated it.
Yeah.
Because I downloaded it, and it had taken my music library that I had at the time.
So organized and everything.
And it had changed a bunch of the metadata to be the wrong track. And I was on my phone, like driving or whatever, and this track would come on and be like the wrong version or a complete different artist. And I was like, what the heck? Like,
or all of a sudden U2 is on your iPhone. You don't know why.
Yeah, that's one of the few things or many things of Apple that I'm not happy about. You know, Apple's hit and miss, and I think they're improving Apple Music very much so. So what I did to get it to work was I downloaded it, they changed all my music, and I hated it, and I was like, I want my old tracks back. So I unsubscribed, and I got all my old songs back. And what I ended up deciding was, well, if I'm going to move... Obviously, the problem is when it takes your music you already have in your library, and it tries to match it with what they have on their server.
Yeah.
But I don't really need music in my library anymore. If I'm going to go to streaming music, I just told myself I might as well just go
and search
to 100% streaming music. So what I did was I went through my iTunes library. I had about... I clear my library pretty not often, once a year maybe. I delete a couple hundred tracks. So I only had about 2,500 songs.
Okay.
But I went through and I would find a track and I'd search it up on Apple Music. And if it was in Apple Music, I added it to my library and deleted the original.
Okay.
But I kept it on a hard drive, so it's backed up. I didn't delete it for good, but I deleted it out of iTunes. So my library is now just tracks that don't exist on Apple Music, so they can't be replaced with the wrong versions.
See, now I don't know what I'm going to do in terms of the way that the direction we're going to go, because we use our iTunes library
DJing
as our Serato bank, and I also use it for my phone because I have an iPhone. So my iTunes is my one singular library that I need to worry about organizing, and it just feeds out from there.
Yeah,
so,
I was in that way, but I mean, I use CDJs, and I just decided if I was going to do it, I was just going to keep a folder for Rekordbox and just do that, and not use iTunes anymore as a central hub. Use it just as a streaming service. And I haven't been DJing recently either, so I understand it might not work for DJs as an optimal solution, but if you're just a music listener, I think clearing your library, and also I deleted a shitload of songs that I just was like, why did I have that in my library?
What the hell is really bad? So at least, I mean, it comes down to the fact that there's options depending on your style, depending on what you require.
So if you have Android, there's also Google Play. Apple Music is also available on Android. Not a lot of people know that, but you can get an Apple Music app. It's the only Apple app you can get on Android. But you mean, here's
Amon Tobin's wonderful visual set. We all got distracted by it.
Shiny.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Amon Tobin's ISOM stage design, video mapping, it's one of the most stunning. And at the end of the tour, he took it to Burning Man and lit it on fire.
Oh, really?
He burned it to the ground.
I have never seen him live, and I would love to see him.
Yeah. Anyway, totally train wreck there, but
so your options right now, if you want to get into streaming music, because that's where it's going. Whether you hate it or not, you're gonna have to make that decision in the next 2 to 3 years to move to a streaming music service, unless you really want to continue buying all your music.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be harder and harder to find music to buy. I mean, okay, if you're a DJ, you're buying music anyways because you have to play it out. But as a music listener, if you're pirating music, it's going to be harder to find stuff because most stuff's going to be released on streaming. And if you're DJing, you're going to have to go through Beatport, which is now sold or selling, so that's going to be gone. Who knows what it's going to turn into right now. There's Track It Down and Juno Download and all that stuff, but these avenues are changing. And I wouldn't even be surprised if in 4 to 5 years, DJ software moves to streaming.
That's an interesting
some of it already
concept,
does.
There is already an option for Serato. I don't remember who they Mixcrate, I think, or something like they partner with, and you can get streaming. I mean, obviously, the problem with that is that if you're at a gig, you need a solid internet connection. And we're not there yet, but like internet and technology is rapidly expanding and it's growing. Everyone thinks it's still just moving at a constant velocity like of innovation, but it's exponentially growing. Like the next wireless format 5G is going to be 100 times faster than what we have as 4G right now, right? So
it's actually funny. My old phone, well, first of all, I just got this new phone. It's like back on an LTE, it's an LTE network.
4G.
I haven't put any music on it because I have been using stuff like SoundCloud and streaming services. I just haven't felt the need to. It gives me more space for like apps and photos and stuff. But my old phone was a Nexus somewhat, and it was still on a 3G network, and it was incredible to realize that back when 3G was the highest tier, you weren't thinking about how slow it was. That was just the standard rate.
The amount of information that was going over a network was able to handle. The 3G was able to handle it, but now it's like more information.
Yeah, so now like I'll be scrolling on the internet on my Nexus, and everything just takes a lot longer to load. And you're just like, was it really that bad back then, or is it just like because I've become so accustomed now to?
Actually, back to the ad block stuff. Apparently, on mobile, if you don't have an ad block software, you should get it on your mobile. You can get it on iPhone too.
Yeah,
you can get ad block software now since iOS 9. Apparently, it can account for over 40% of your monthly data is ads.
Whoa.
Really?
When you go to a website like Fox News, I don't know, I go to Fox News
every day.
National Post, let's say, there's a lot of advertisements embedded in the websites, and you have to actually load those. And not only that, but they're usually a moving image or whatnot, and it can account for a huge amount of your data.
So how do you get this ad? Because I'd like to know. What is it called? The app, or is it an app that you download?
Yeah, if you just search the App Store for ad block.
Ad block. Okay, I'm writing that down.
I think mine, the one that I use is called Purify. I think, but there's like Ad Block Plus. There's uBlock. There's tons of different ones. But and for Android's had that for a while because Android's always ahead of the game. But I still like Apple. I don't know. I like Apple's. I like Apple. I don't care.
Something about the presentation and
although recently I have been a little disappointed in Apple. I don't like the way that they've always focused on aesthetics and design.
Yeah.
But now that's taken like the main focus. Like before, 10 years ago when you would buy a MacBook or whatever or a Mac, you'd get an expensive machine that looked nice, but it also had really top of the line like hardware inside, and now it's so like it's not super reliable all the time, and it looks nice, like build quality is nice, but in terms of like hardware, and same with the phones, like they're shipping phones with 16 gigabytes of storage.
Get over it. Like
someone actually had a good discussion about that recently as well, is that we might not even need to have hard drives in the future that are terabytes in size and stuff, because if everything's moving towards the cloud and like streaming music and all this stuff, you're not really storing anything on your phone anymore.
There's going to be more efficient cloud access.
So yeah, like as internet improves and wireless communications improve and stuff, the need for a big hard drive to store music and store photos and videos is not really necessary. But back to the streaming music stuff, I tried Spotify, I liked it, and I would use it if I didn't have an iPhone. The only reason why I did the Apple Music was just because it ties into the Apple ecosystem that they suck you into. But
I kind of felt like when Apple Music launched, and then the music app on the iPhone updated, and Apple Music was in there.
Yeah.
I felt like it was very intrusive.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Apple does that though. Like
Yeah.
they've forced since it's been like that forever. When Apple was the first company to drop the floppy disk drive, they were the first company to drop the CD drive, and the first company to introduce and also drop the FireWire connection, and the new MacBook, that little tiny one that they have
use the USB-C for everything.
And they're supposed to announce the new MacBook Pros in June.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what they.
The
turn
rumor
out like.
is that it probably will be USB-C as well, forcing that on everybody. But
I'm okay with that because it's very fast and it's capable of transferring all types of information.
And people moan about this, but they need to understand that is technology. Technology changes and morphs, and you have to adapt. And the problem with technology is if you don't adapt to the newer standards, as much as you may hate it, you're gonna get left behind.
Yeah.
Whether that's DJ, visual, or just simple consumer electronics, if you don't upgrade to the newer stuff or even understand how the newer technology works, you're gonna be left behind. Like as the years go on, technology is rapidly exponentially improving.
Yeah.
If you don't keep up with it, like my parents, for instance, like, they always have an issue with their computer and stuff, and it's basic stuff. And it's like, if you don't understand this stuff now, 10 years from now, where technology is going to be, you're going to
feel so disconnected from it.
You're going to be so left behind. You're not going to have any idea how to run anything, But with the Apple Music was definitely very intrusive when they launched. And if you don't use Apple Music and you use the Music app, I would suggest if you go into your settings on your iPhone in
I've got one right here. I can pull it up.
It's in there's an option to turn off Connect and
turn off Connect.
Well, because you know how when you open up the Music app, it has like on the bottom right, it has Connect, and it's like their social media of music.
I see.
If you go into...
Yep, there it is, the little Apple Connect thing in the bottom right. Yeah, and if you touch it, it just... Yeah, that's the thing I don't like is now, like at the bottom of the Music app, I've got My Music on the left, and then I've got For You, and then I've got New, and then I got Radio, and I got Connect. And like the other 4 buttons take me away from My Music app. They take me into like subscription services and social services.
Yeah, no, they're definitely forcing it on you.
Whereas it used to be, at the bottom, I could click between songs or artists or playlists.
The overall layout, the way that it changed, just to be able to switch between songs and playlists and artists.
I definitely agree. Like Apple Music definitely needs to improve quite a bit. But the thing is that with it being Apple, they have a gajillion dollars that they're gonna throw at this to make it good. And as much as I hate Beats, we haven't seen what Beats has turned into since Apple bought it. They're still selling the same headphones they were before and all this stuff. But if you were to ask me, like, where is the future of music going to be in 5 years? Like, what is everybody going to be doing? We're not going to be plugging in headphones into phones anymore. That's going to be coming in 2 years.
Yeah, no more headphone jack.
No more headphone jack.
I've been using...
People are going to hate it. You're going to see a million memes and people complain about it. But you know what? Wireless technology on everything is where the future is.
I adore my Bluetooth headphones. I wear them all day at work. I listen to podcasts and music all day at work. And when you're working with miter saws and table saws and all that kind of stuff, having a fucking wire hanging in front of you and catching it on things, every single time, like I used to use earbuds, every single time that cord caught on something, it fucking yanked those things out of my ears with like the force of hell, and it would ruin your day because it would hurt, and it's so abrupt. It's like getting smacked in the face out of nowhere. And so going wireless with that was the best thing I ever did, and I love them.
And I mean, like I said, with wireless speeds, they'll be way up to par. So streaming, where coverage will be huge. Like right now, coverage has improved substantially since like 10 years ago when we first had cell phones. You left the city and you didn't have a signal, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can be standing in the middle of the forest in Shabala and you can check your Facebook.
Yeah.
But
just a little booster somewhere.
It all comes down to convenience, and people don't want change, but like that's where it's changing into is convenience, and everything's gonna be wireless. You're not gonna have to think about storing stuff and updating your phone and plugging it in. Even charging is gonna be wireless. I bet soon, where it's just you put it down on your table and it'll be nearby, something that will charge it from afar. And with these streaming services, the good thing about the streaming services is that artists are getting paid finally.
Yeah.
The problem so far with it is that
sorry.
Don't.
As an independent artist, it's hard to get paid. To get, like, right now, if you were to make a track, you can't just upload it to Apple Music and get 1 million people to download it. It's coming, though. I really think that they announced recently that they came out with a new content ID software that's going to be implemented into Apple Music. So if you I don't know if they're going to allow this, but if you upload a DJ mix to Apple Music, it will be able to identify all the songs in the DJ mix and then pay out royalties to those artists that you use the mix from.
That's going to change how people structure their mixes, like the bigger artists.
Maybe, but I mean, like, you're not getting charged as the person uploading it. Like, that money is coming from everybody paying into this monthly subscription service, right? And at $10 a month to access every song that you could pretty much think of, except for newer tipper stuff, like I was saying earlier.
Oh, and some Tool.
No Tool. I checked for that, and there's no Tool in there. And they said that they're never going to be on Apple Music and all. But I mean, like, as the world changes, like, I mean, I'm sure as the world shifted from records to CDs, there was tons of artists that fought it and were like, we're not doing it. We're only going to stay on vinyl, blah, blah. And then eventually they were like, okay, we'll do it. And in the DJ world, I think that's going to also change, where we're going to have more streaming capabilities in terms of just show up to a gig and, they'll probably be either dedicated Ethernet line or Wi-Fi. And I mean, this isn't super soon future, but I don't see it being further than 5 years away where that's a reality.
Well, one thing I like about, and Brady's been talking up Spotify in the sense that he really appreciates the fact that not only can you, or even SoundCloud does it, not only can you share a mix tape or like a mix with someone, but you can share a playlist you've made.
Yep.
And with a streaming service, you can go through and put together, like you would back in the day to make a cassette tape. You go through and you select all these songs. You can make a playlist and then share that playlist with somebody or anybody.
And they don't have to pay for it because
exactly.
they're already paying.
That was SoundCloud too, though.
Sort of, but SoundCloud, like Spotify, you can go and put together big name, like the kind of music that really isn't on SoundCloud, like all your Madonna stuff or, like friggin' Stone Temple Pilots or whatever. Like you put together these playlists of music and you can share them on your own thing so people can kind of like plug into a playlist that you like. Yeah. And you can find an artist that you really like and plug into one of their playlists.
That's what makes that stuff so good, is that it's so freely accessible, right? There's no hoops you have to jump through to get onto it. You don't have to like or subscribe or any of that stuff. You just pay your monthly service, monthly subscription fee,
and it's working off the same system, the same collection. Everybody's working off the same collection of music.
And through Spotify and Apple Music, you can do the same thing. Is all those artists in that playlist, every time you play their song, they're making an income. It's not much. Right, it's like fractions of a penny or something like that.
So Spotify and Apple Music, every artist that's on there gets slight royalties from plays, right?
Very, 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 very slight royalties.
Right. But if you get a lot of plays, you get residual income.
It's not much. It's like if you get 9 million plays, I think you make like a couple $100. Not even $100. I think you make...
What? Wow.
Yeah, that's it. We'd have to fact check.
There's a good infographic about how many plays per pay that you get.
Yeah.
And I think Spotify was like way, way lower. Like you have to get a few million plays just to make like what you would on a CD.
So Apple Music is leading in terms of royalty, like paying out artists?
I don't know, actually. I don't know about that.
Well,
but I mean, the thing is that they already were in bed with the music industry with iTunes for years. So I'm sure that whatever deal that they could get out of it, it was probably pretty fair. I mean, I remember there was a big thing when they launched Taylor Swift. There was a huge online thing because she called them out because they were offering a 3-month...
30-month, right?
No, 3-month.
30-day?
3-month trial.
Oh, 3-month, okay.
Free trial, which is, you can still get 3-month free trial now, but they weren't going to be paying any royalties for that 3 month from anyone listening through the.
So anybody listening on a trial period was not contributing to.
But since she made a big stink about that, they changed and they are paying royalties now. So I mean,
right on.
Like I said, at the end of the day, Spotify's good service. I don't think that it's bad, and I think that it's probably going to be as competitive with Apple Music going forward. I don't see SoundCloud go competing with the other two, just because you're right in that you're not going to get the Madonnas and the Aerosmith and stuff like that on there. You're going to get DJ mixes and stuff, and a lot of those artists are hurt by SoundCloud right now.
It pissed a lot of people off, and they'll probably end up boycotting it.
Because, you got guys like J-Pod and Neon Steve and stuff who had their accounts removed, and why should they upload any of their music to SoundCloud again just because you promised?
They've been crossed,
Yeah, it's like... And Google Play is another one. I have never used it because I don't have Android, so I don't have any information on that, how good it is. But as far as I know, I think more people who have Android probably use Spotify than they do Google Play. But
the Android Music app has kind of the same platform. I think kind of is what you're talking about with the menu at the bottom of it, because you go into your music app and then at the very top of it says listen, but then you have to select your own library when you first go into it. So it opens it up for like streaming and stuff.
They're definitely forcing streaming music onto everybody, and a lot of people are going to be hurt by that or upset by that, I guess. But at the end of the day, like they're the ones that own the service. Like you kind of you can fight it, and I wouldn't say just bend over and take it, but that's how it's going to go, and that's how most of the major artists want it to go, and they're the ones that have the most influence.
Yeah.
The other streaming service is Tidal, which is Jay-Z's venture. I don't see that one doing it as well as anything else. And Kanye West just launched a new album, and he wanted it to be exclusive on Tidal, and he had said it'll never be on Apple Music or Google. It's only going to be available on Tidal. And now 3 months later, it's coming to Apple Music. So I think people know that the two big juggernauts, maybe three, would be Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Play.
It's because Kanye's broke, right? He's just like,
I don't know. Like
sorts of shit.
I don't follow that guy too closely, but I have read the internet gossip, and I honestly think that he might just be really smart in the sense that he knows that if he says really stupid things, more people like us who don't listen to his music hear about him and check him out.
Talking about him right now.
All of a sudden, we've mentioned him on the podcast.
And I mean, he's married to what's her face? That's like the queen of like gossip,
Kim Kardashian.
Fucking Kardashian.
And like, though, like there's no way that he hasn't picked up on that from her. That like, if you just say ridiculous things or make your life like a big spectacle, more people are interested in you.
Yeah.
But, well, I wanted to ask you this because it's like brand new news. What do you think of the new Tesla? What do you think of it?
I watched the live stream actually. Yeah. I'm very interested in it.
A lot of people are really curious about, like, is it actually not going to happen? And you were right, Callie. There is no gauge cluster. There's no instrument cluster.
So he has said that. I actually was looking at Elon Musk's Twitter today. He said that will be explained, because that was only part one of the announcement, eh?
Right, because the rest is, everybody expects that it's leading towards it's going to be a completely autonomous driving car.
I'm pretty sure it is too, actually.
Yeah. So you can check your speed, but you're not really going to need to have
because the Model S right now has autopilot.
Right.
And they said that full self-driving was going to be 2 to 3 years away.
Yep.
And 2017, late 2017 is when
those cars drop.
it's supposed to come out. But the thing about Tesla Model 3 that's like mind-blowing, they've gotten over 250,000 pre-orders in 24 hours.
Wow.
There was only 100,000 electric cars sold in total in the world last year. Yeah. So in 24 hours, they more than doubled the expected product line. And I guarantee you, every single other car manufacturer in the world, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, they held emergency meetings the next day with their shareholders and were going, oh my God.
Yeah, the response is,
why did we not do this? Mm-hmm. What are we doing wrong? How come we aren't getting 100,000 people ordering our cars and lineups down the block? Obviously, the world is ready for electric cars.
Yeah. especially of this kind, and the attitude that Elon Musk presents, like his open source, sharing his technology, not being, like what we've known has been the big Detroit names, the American cars, and it's just a super like kind of grungy industry, like friggin' big companies tanking because they didn't make the proper choices, but then the banks bailing them out because, well, we kind of need you, whereas Elon Musk is just, he's not trying to be the biggest, richest man in the world. He's already wealthy. He literally
wants to change the world. That's it.
One of the quotes that I can't remember which show that it was that he was on, and they were like, why are you developing all of this incredible R&D and this technology and then letting everybody else build on it and use it, just putting it out there? And the way that he described it was like, we're on this ship, right? And it's sinking, like it's taking on water, and we're all on it. And if I have a better design for a bucket, I'm gonna run around and tell everybody, no, let's do this. Like we're all in this together, and it's kind of like it would be completely ridiculous for me to just keep this bucket design and myself for bailing out the water.
Yeah, I'll sell you my good bucket.
No, he's got the humility, and he's got like the stature of a true leader. And I really appreciate it. I don't know if it was him that said it, but I think it was somebody that was saying it about him, about how we need to change the definition of what people regard a billionaire as. Yeah. And like right now, when you say billionaire, you think of someone who is worth $1 billion. Now, somebody was talking about, like people like Elon Musk, they're billionaires in the sense that they've made a positive change or an effect. They've affected 1 billion lives positively. Mm-hmm. And that is the kind of achievement or the kind of like stature that means something for like where we need to go in the future, not just the accumulation of money. Like who fucking appreciates the Rothschild or the Rockefellers and like those people? Like they have all the money in the world. They're incredibly reclusive. They will destroy the world to double their money.
Seems like that way. When you have all the money, the only thing left after that is just power. So
and nobody likes them.
But no, I think what Tesla, the company, and Elon Musk is doing is huge. And I mean, there's a great 4-piece blog post on a website called waitbutwhy.com, and it's about how Tesla will change the world through SpaceX and through Tesla and the Gigafactory and all this stuff. Right. And they're making big moves, and we're seeing this transformation right now in technology. I mean, we're in the generation where we're gonna see the rapid progression of technology. Like it's speeding up already. It's
pretty rapid.
But it's. I mean, I don't know how invested you guys are on the topic of the singularity and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I would definitely. I could do a whole nother 2 hours on that topic.
Actually, Ray Kurzweil was just a guest on Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast, Star Talk Radio. Okay, yeah. It was a terrible audio quality. I don't know why. I think they were just recording it kind of impromptu where they happened to be in the same spot. There's a lot of reverberation in the audio on Kurzweil's side. But it is a really interesting conversation. It's just nice to listen to someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson pick his brain and go through it. So
like the whole singularity topic, like there are people that believe in it, that it's inevitable, and there's people that will say it's not possible. But even if it doesn't get all the way to that exact point, we're still gonna see that ramp up like to almost that point.
I guess to describe to the listeners who may not be familiar with like Ray Kurzweil's declaration of the singularity, and he even pegs it down to like, I think it's going to be this particular year, like 2040.
2029, I think is what he said.
I think it's changed to like 2040.
2029 is the earliest prediction.
Yeah, I see.
But it's the point in which like the singularity is that precise moment where artificial intelligence realizes that it can make decisions on its own, and it starts to
upgrade itself.
Upgrade itself and make decisions, and it's no longer programmed. It just kind of starts feedback looping on its own decisions, and there is a possibility that it might deem humans, like literally Terminator. It will deem us as possibly a problem, or like Duncan Trussell was saying, it's like, what if they just make the decision that like, oh well, humans are they're better off happy. So we'll just like engineer this dopamine injection into every single one of these humans and just like turn them into this like farm of like they're all happy, but everybody's just like doped up and sitting there drooling.
Sweet.
You know, like just essentially like the Matrix. Put them
there's-
into the experience in their head and use them as fuel. And
that website, waitbutwhy.com, they have another, probably one of the best pieces I've read on artificial intelligence called The Road to Super Intelligence, or Road to Artificial Intelligence. 2-part series. It takes you about 40 minutes to read through the whole thing, but it's not like super jargon, like hard to understand. The way the guy writes it, same with the Tesla article, like it's very engaging and like
it keeps your attention.
And they talk about like the artificial intelligence and the rise of machines and stuff. What's interesting to me is if you start thinking about artificial intelligence and how it's going to play into this stuff. You know, music selection, you already have with these streaming services, you get recommended artists. So, you know, SoundCloud recommends you a song that's related to that to
Based
listen
on an
to.
algorithm.
And you know, soon in the future, you'll have a device probably in your body, but in your hand, that will know exactly what song to listen to, like to choose for you
mood.
based on your chemical makeup in your brain at the time. It'll choose a song for you. It could even create the song on the spot. Like a lot of people say that a lot of people say art is something that only humans can do because we can only like, I guess, view the world in this abstract emotional way. But we have computer algorithms that can write classical pieces of music that are indistinguishable from humans.
You just got to give them a little bit of foundation to work off of, and then they're like, "Oh, I get this," and
just like the whole like the new Google Deep Dream stuff where it takes a picture and then applies it to another photo, and like that's all just like the emerging of this stuff now, and like with the exponential nature of technology now, like in 2, 3, 5 years from now, that's going to be 10 or 100 times more capable, and you're going to have something that can DJ better than any DJ, that can produce music more intricate and efficient than any human can, right?
Are you familiar with Singularity University?
No,
it's a branch of NASA that has a couple hundred genius minds, and they're all just hard at work every day. Legitimately, Singularity University is there to educate and breed people to start thinking about solutions to problems that haven't happened yet. So because the technology is it's leaping so quickly that by the time we figure out that too many kids are pacified with an iPad or an iPhone, by the time you can implement a solution, then a new problem is taken over, So like the Singularity University is just a bunch of team of geniuses that are all just sitting around trying to think of the problems that are going to come from the future pathways and prepare solutions to be enacted or to be acted upon before. So you have at least a head start. So it's really interesting that it's like funded by the government and NASA, and like it's pretty profound that's the world we live in.
Yeah, so I mean, like a lot of people, like when it comes to cars or cell phones and stuff, like we have artificial intelligence right now. It's just there's a difference between artificial intelligence and super artificial intelligence. And super artificial intelligence is like the comparison where we have an artificial intelligence, we have a machine right now that can play chess and beat somebody at chess, but it doesn't know why chess. Yeah, like why it's playing chess. It doesn't know. It doesn't know that. It doesn't know why it's in a room that's on a rock hurling around the planet. It just knows about the game of chess. So super artificial intelligence, when we reach that, is when it's able to make decisions on its own and influence its own behavior based on that. And it might be, like you said, the end of days, but it also might be the only hope that humanity has.
Well, and I know a lot of people that they speak of it as we are the chrysalis, we are the caterpillar inside the chrysalis right now, and the artificial intelligence is the butterfly that's about to emerge. We're literally like giving birth to a new form of life, and it's technically a natural progression because it's like the table of elements is nature, and it's found ways to come together in a little pool to create bacteria, and
DNA is software in that sense, right?
And it's a natural progression of just things that are happening in the universe.
And I mean, like Hollywood's depictions of artificial intelligence is always the us versus them.
Yeah.
And that artificial intelligence has this anthropomorphic quality where it has hate and it has jealousy and all that stuff, whereas it's not really the case. I don't know if we can do that in a machine, because all of those emotions are just chemical reactions in our brain.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can do that in a machine, because a machine is more calculations.
True, and most of our emotions, most of fear and all of the sadness, they're purpose built by evolution to be defense mechanisms to help us survive in a lot of ways. And we're really like the fact that technology got out, or evolution and society and all these things have been exponentially growing, but our emotions are still very much our defense mechanisms from 200,000 years ago. Totally. So it's that's why a lot of us are depressed and jump off buildings sometimes, because it's got to be very confusing.
Well, that took a dark turn.
Sorry, I'm not talking about myself. I'm just talking about like humans in general. It's a tough time to live in, because it used to be that life was very simple. You needed to gather your food and get shelter and survive. There wasn't really. I don't think that there would have been a high percentage of suicide in hunter-gatherer cultures. You'd probably get eaten more. You'd probably have more of a danger of.
I don't know if the record keeping of that would be.
Yeah, I guess I'm just talking shit right now.
Well, but you think
I wasn't around back then.
How many suicide can still happen within animals? Like, say, elephants are very emotional and intelligent animals. If a mother's baby dies, it'll just starve itself to death. Yeah. It'll stop eating. So that's a form of suicide.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, we're coming up on 2 hours here almost.
Are we really?
Hour and 45. Yep.
Hour and 45. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I think we covered everything on my thing. Other than your Dsquared project, but I guess you said you kind of.
Yeah, I'm not doing too much with my project. I mean, I did a huge audio visual DJ lighting thing in October last year, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years ago now. I don't remember.
You did it twice though, right?
I did it twice. The second time was not as involved, but I basically I did my first Ableton set. Like, normally I'm on CDJs and DJM, but I did Ableton, and I basically, it was pre-planned, but not just like press play and go. And it was pre-planned because I'm not like Porter Robinson here or Excision where I have a team. It was just me doing everything. So I did all the visuals myself, on lighting myself, and I had to choose the music to go with it. So I had to kind of plan how I wanted the set to go from start to finish. I couldn't really deviate from that because I didn't have enough material to
improv in that way.
Jump around but I had programmed all the lighting to be in perfect sync because I knew the lighting rig at 10 really well and whatnot, and it had gone really well, but it took a lot of effort. I can see why these guys pour thousands of dollars into a team of visual creators that do this. This is Porter Robinson right now, by the way.
Yeah, he's
his world tour.
His world tour for Worlds. His album was called Worlds, and it was called the Worlds Tour, and it's a
his visuals orgasm. Though I love his visuals. They're a little anime. I swear he thinks he's Japanese or something, but his VJ is named Ghost Dad, and I've seen him. If you see Porter live when he's not doing the World's Tour and he has Ghost Dad, the visuals are just so cool. He uses this glitch effect, and I love forced glitching of graphics. I don't know why it's super pleasing to me. It's like seeing a supernova of a galaxy. It's chaos, but it's beauty in the chaos. So he uses this glitch effect a lot, and it in a really neat way. Android Jones we were watching earlier had a little bit of it with kind of the delay that's kind of a glitch effect where something that was supposed to if you move your mouse across the screen and a stream of mice would come behind it, but the forced glitching is kind of you're telling the graphics card all these improper calculations of where the graphic's supposed to be, so it kind of distorts it and rips and whatnot.
One of our little circular laser cut Genesa crystal pendants, one of the first ones that we did, where we did it instead of the cutout, we did it on solid. Something happened within the pathways of the file, so when we put it through the laser cutter, it kept screwing up, and there was horizontal lines that would just start shearing across the image. I could show you when we're done. It's up on the
It looks
corkboard,
super glitched
but
out. It's
like,
really cool.
Yeah, it's just like the Matrix. It's like it just like de-interlaced and just like fell apart to the right in like this stripy format. Is cool.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to do more visual stuff again with the Dsquared project, I would definitely take my influences from all these shows that I've worked with Porter Robinson, and I haven't worked Excision, but I mean, I've seen it and all that stuff, and just kind of implement it all. But it's a lot of work to do your own visuals.
Yeah, I know.
Especially when you're up there also trying to do the music, and then I also did the lighting at the same time. And
Yeah,
it
was a lot of balls, man.
it gets it didn't screw up, luckily, but it gets overwhelming to do that much work. I mean, I was working on it right up until doors opened, pretty much, and everyone was blown away by it, and I was happy with how much I accomplished with it, but there was still tons of it that I would have wanted to do. I just didn't have time to. So
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Cool. So what are your? Do you have any plans? Like, is the Dsquared thing?
right now I'm at a crossroads in my life. Since 10 shut down, I'm just trying to figure out what my next moves are. Looks like I'm into a new career now that I just started like this week. So
Right.
we'll see how that goes. But it's mostly, I'm not inspired really lately with music, and DJing and club culture and stuff.
It's okay for inspirations to shift too.
Yeah, and I'm
it's
just
healthy.
I'm gonna allow it to come back on its own. I still love going to the festivals and working on with PK sound and whatnot, but especially the club stuff, I don't really have any foreseeable interest to get back into it right away.
Well, maybe
Because you have to put so much effort into it, and you don't really get anywhere. Like, you don't get paid. Not that I'm in it for money, but it's like, if I'm gonna put if I'm gonna put in like 3 weeks of work, because I didn't get paid for that show. If I'm gonna put 3 weeks of work into like programming all this stuff, and then like blow people away, and then they're just like, yeah, we couldn't pay you. It's like, that's not worth it to me, and knowing all these big name artists as DJing, I'm also like, because I've met them all, like, I don't really know if that's the life I want to go for as well.
Totally.
I'm a very introverted person, and I think that's why DJing was interesting to me, was because I could still get into a crowd but not be in the crowd.
In the tree, part of the tree.
I'm not. I don't like lots of attention. I don't know, in that sense. I don't know if that's weird, but
No, it's also pretty healthy. It's actually kind of sort of unhealthy for like some of these people to like fucking be addicted to the attention. It's a totally different path.
I do think though that's. I mean, I'm very prevalent and vocal on social media, and I think that's just because I'm more comfortable expressing myself through social media, so it comes out quite easily through that. But I don't know. I'm as I'm getting older, you also get kind of over the party scene.
Yep.
And stuff, and I feel like the way that we do club stuff is not wrong, but it could be so much different and better if it was approached in a different way. And if I had the income that I could do that with, if I had the ability to open up my own nightclub, I would honestly do it so different than anybody else has ever done it.
You kind of have to sell drinks at a staggering pace to pay for
the
rent.
But I mean, that might not be the only solution. I mean, I don't know. There might be other ways. I just don't know if anyone is willing to take the risk on trying it in a different way. Like, one of the things I think is important in clubs is to really invest heavily into your visual aspect. I don't just mean trippy ass visuals. I just mean, when you walk into a bar, it shouldn't just be an empty room with a bar in the corner and a couple lights.
And there should be some sort of visual experience.
If you look at, I haven't been, but Bloom nightclub in...
Oh, I've been...
Yeah.
I think they did that perfect, to be honest. Like, you walk in there,
it's beautiful.
It looks nice. It's not overwhelming.
Yeah, they have like lush plants, like vine work on the walls, and
you could do stuff with that. And like, even like 10 where I worked at, I loved doing the lighting and stuff there, but it was made to be like a rave, big ass concert hall in a small room. And I think that as a nightclub, you can do visuals. I think visuals are great because they're adaptable to be whatever you want. But lighting, I think, in a club should be more ambient, glow, moving sort of stuff. I really liked not these beams of light flashing everywhere. I mean, they're great when you have a show that's like sold out 350 people, you know, or well, 10 was only able to hold 350 people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
except for that ski tour show.
Yeah, that was the night that we had them here for the podcast.
Yeah. You know, if it's sold out, those crazy light shows are amazing because everyone's just like, oh my God, it's crazy. But if the show doesn't do too well, it's almost like overwhelming because you're in this big empty room and then this like crazy light show's happening and you're just like, there's nobody here. But yeah.
Cool.
Well,
I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about. I mean, like, I really wanted to get a little bit more educated on the SoundCloud thing, and you definitely seemed like you had done your research, so that was...
I think that they have a lot... If SoundCloud wants to be competitive, they really got to improve their service. Yeah. If they want me to spend... Because I'm already invested in Apple Music, and tons of other people are already invested in Spotify, and if they want me to move from that or invest another $10 a month into that, they really got to step up their game.
Yeah.
Because all of those tracks that they're saying I can't access anymore because I don't have a subscription, I can access on... Apple Music and whatnot.
Water will just find the way to go around the barrier.
Why do I want to go to SoundCloud otherwise?
Yeah.
You know.
Cool. Anybody you want to give a shout out to, or anything you want to plug as we wrap this up?
Shout out to Bima Visuals.
Yeah, hell yeah.
For really putting Calgary on the map for visual teams.
Yeah.
I've met pretty much all their crew. They're pretty...
Yeah, they're all wonderful.
They're pretty dope.
PK
shout
Sound.
out to PK Sound for giving me a chance to do my thing with
Help
them.
co-create.
I've learned so much with audio and stuff through them. I went to school for audio engineering, but I didn't really get into the audio side of stuff until I started working with PK, and they're a great team of guys and girls.
Hell yeah. We actually... This week we're gonna go to the shop and do a podcast there at the shop.
Oh, awesome!
So we were gonna do it last week, but it's hard to line everybody's schedule.
Yeah.
And for them to come here to the studio, they were like, shit.
Do you know who you're sitting down with, or?
We were gonna do Adam Lewis and Chris Boucher, and then Scotty D and Trevor. I think we might have to get a different interface so that we can add some microphones, but
I'm sure they have microphones in the shop.
Yeah.
Anyways, and XLR cables.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be super easy, and it'll be better because we can just go to the PK shop, set up a stack of Trinities as the background, you know, actually plug the product and have some relevant visual aesthetic there, and then they don't have to leave work to do it. So that's
there's literally I would actually say there's not a single person on PK that I don't get along with. Like everyone there they love their job. Yeah, they love what they do.
Cheers.
And they're very smart at what they do.
Shout out to PK because we're lucky to have them here.
Totally
cool.
And other than that, let's wrap it up. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
This was actually just chock full of like good information.
I pretty much just like sat here and listened the whole time. Just
That's okay sometimes.
Take it in.
Pretty quiet, yeah.
All right, well, signing off. We'll see you guys next time.
ThoughtLab Video Podcast.